I have a long list of guys from NXT. If you just want to give your comments on Samoa Joe, being around Joe.
Oh, he's awesome. I've known Joe for pretty much as long as I've been wrestling, and he's always been a cool guy.
Finn Balor.
Finn is surprisingly more relaxed about everything than you'd expect. I think he's very much that guy who's at the point where he knows he's done his art. He's here to do his money work, and he's definitely doing it. And I think he's actually like the highest grossing guy as far as merch goes. He was making 6 figures in developmental because of his merch.
Yeah. What about Ty?
Ty is reliable. He's probably one of the more reliable workers you're going to find. He's very reminiscent of I think probably a guy like Rude or Hennig, where you can put him out there with anyone, he's going to give you a quality match.
Jordan and Gable?
Oh, they're great. I absolutely love Chad Gable. He's hilariously talented. I told him his first week in the company, and this is when most people aren't talking to him. I can't remember if I wrestled with him or I saw him in the ring, and I just said, "You're going to be in the Hall of Fame someday."
He is amazing.
Oh, he is. Jordan, it's funny how insecure he is because he's a guy that has he's gorgeous, jacked, jumped to the moon, athletic as the day is long, and he has no reason to envy anyone, but he's shockingly like insecure sometimes. Not in a bad way, in an almost endearing way, like, oh, you're nervous. What the fuck are you nervous about?
Enzo and Cass.
Cass is a good dude. He is a solid big man. Enzo is a fucking abortion.
Why do you say that? A lot of people say that.
Well, have you ever heard the saying, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks?
So you guys won't be doing Christmas dinner anytime soon?
Well, I'm Jewish for starters, but...
there you go.
But, no, to give you the full rundown on Enzo, he is... Well, first, I will say to his credit, he absolutely believes his own bullshit. He is 100% confident in himself, to his detriment, and to the detriment of others around him. He's an example of someone who has no excuse to not know wrestling, but he doesn't know wrestling. To give you just a full rundown of just a few of these are the highlights.
Yeah, definitely. Go for it.
Here's some Enzo highlights. We'll start with this one. Enzo is from New Jersey. What's the one thing New Jersey has a vast number of? Wrestling schools. Guess how many days of wrestling training Enzo had before he got signed? 0. And I asked Sean Bennett, who's a referee from this area.
I know Sean.
Yeah, Sean. And I told him that, and he was like, "Yeah, I know where Enzo's from, and there's a school 15 minutes from his town."
Mike Morgan School, maybe.
Yeah. So it's like there's schools out there. So this is thing one to me because I'm very big on I'm passionate about wrestling. I'm passionate about the art of wrestling and guys who love it. Like Chad Gable, a lot of people don't know, he trained with Eric Cannon up in Minnesota before he got signed. And he wasn't doing that for any reason other than he loved pro wrestling. He got into amateur wrestling because he loved pro wrestling. So that's the first thing to me.
You remind me of Punk, by the way.
Oh.
Does anybody else ever tell you that? Just the way you're...
No, but now I feel a little
it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Go ahead.
I wish I could remind you of his bank account, but unfortunately I can't. But that actually threw me off terribly.
Sorry about that.
I'll tell you why in a minute. But so that's a big thing to me. It's like people who have the opportunity to learn and don't is really weird to me. Secondly, like I said, I'm not very big on gimmicks, and he's a walking gimmick. So that kind of bugs me on top of that. He's kind of a scummy guy. A lot of his, we all have our down moments, like our less than. Every one of us could probably write out a handful of things we're generally not proud of we've done. But he's one of those guys that not only would he write down those things with pride, he would brag, he'd make up other ones. But just to give you a level of his understanding of wrestling, you were interviewing Manny Fernandez earlier, correct?
Yes.
Okay. One of the guys who's an unsung hero of Pro Wrestling Iron is a guy named Frank Murdoch. He also worked under the name Frank Dalton. He used to do WCWB shows with Manny. Now, one day, we were sitting in the one of the conference rooms watching videotape, bullshitting with Bill. So it's like me, English, Sasha, Bailey, Enzo, Cass. It's a bunch of, his class, basically, Bill's class. We're in there, and we're just telling different funny wrestling stories. And the story I had was that many years ago, when they were doing the WCWB shows, Manny and Frank had homesteaded this one random town. Manny had convinced this Mark car dealer to sell Frank a car. So he writes up a loan. He does all this shit under the name Frank Murdoch. The problem is Frank Murdoch doesn't exist. His name is Kelly New. But this guy's, he does it without ID. He does also because he's such a mark for Manny, and so he gives them a car. So one day, Manny disappears with the car, and Frank's like, well, my name ain't on it. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
So I tell this story. Enzo, who claims to be the hugest Dusty Rhodes fan in the world, Dusty's my mentor, all this stuff. Oh man, I can't believe Kalisto would do that. You could have heard a pin drop. Everyone just does the Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez, Dusty's tag partner, you know, the guy you supposedly is your mentor. Oh, because Kalisto's name is Manny Rodriguez. And Enzo's the type of guy that would try to play that off like it was a joke and he knew.
Right.
But he legitimately knew nothing about wrestling. He seems like that guy who started watching wrestling in like 1998 and has never seen anything other than Raw.
Yeah.
So there'd be things like that. There'd be things like he'd want to do shit in matches that were just completely stupid. At one point, I remember actually throwing up my hands and saying, "I am a 30-year-old man. I've been doing this for 12 years. I'm too fucking old to be arguing with you about what we're gonna do in a fake fight." We had one where it was even where I would try to work with him, where it'd be like, "Okay, we're gonna do this spot, whatever. Low bridge me, I'll go out." And I was like, "I'm gonna try and land on the apron. If I do, come to me. I'm gonna give you the hangman. If I miss the apron for any reason, just so you know, because I knew he wasn't very good. If I land on the floor, come after me. I'll grab your feet, trip you, and I'll just spin you around and start glomming you. Which is it gonna be?" Like, I don't know. I'm going to try and land on the apron. I'm telling you I might miss. There's a possibility of that. I've missed the apron before going out. I'm trying to warn you of this so you know if that happens what to do. "Well, what you gonna do? What you gonna do?" I'm like, I finally gave up. I was like, "I'll go to the floor and I'll trip you, okay?" "Oh, okay." So it's shit like that where you're like, do you not know how to wrestle? He broke his own leg trying to counter a wrist lock.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, when he was in the wheelchair on NXT TV, that's how it happened. He broke his own leg trying to counter a wrist lock. He blamed it on the canvas being loose. Which, okay, let's say the canvas is loose. I've wrestled on loose canvases before. You know how many ankles I've broken? 0. So there was that. Then he actually, remember after he'd been called up, he tried to blame Manny for that happening. He was in the ring with Kalisto. When he did it, he tried to blame Kalisto for it, and Kalisto called him out on it right away. He's like, "Motherfucker, you broke that thing. You broke your ankle because you don't know how to wrestle." Like,
right.
That's why it happened.
Well, how did he get to the main roster and just off his charisma? Or?
Well, if you believe his story, which is not true, Enzo has a bad habit of editing himself in the wrong ways. Like he'll re-edit stories. He won't tell you the details. I'll give you a quick rundown just so you understand this before I tell it. He bragged about one time they were downtown. They were in Tampa. They were, out partying, whatever. Some girls ride by, and he yells, "Show me your boobs." And the girls went, "Show me your dick." And he went, "Show me your bedroom." And they went back, and he fucked these 2 girls and this whole thing. He leaves out the fact these 2 girls were, first of all, about 300 pounds apiece. So when he's telling the story to people, he tells them, oh yeah, he tells them all the stuff he did, doing all this stuff. He leaves out the fact they're both about 300 pounds, and that apparently they lived in the same building Enzo did. And when he was telling one of his friends about it, I think he was telling Cass about it in their apartment. Fucking the maintenance guys were there, like, "Oh, you fucked the girls in this apartment. Oh, they're gross, man. Their place smells like shit."
Right.
So they're ribbing him about it. But when he tells the story, it's that. So here's what happened. Triple H's training is going to a trainer, a guy named Joe DeFranco up in New Jersey. Enzo is a disciple of the DeFranco gym. He actually has the DeFranco gym logo tattooed on his thigh. He finds out that Joe's training Triple H. So he puts together this promo video where it's like, yeah, it shows him rapping, and it shows him doing MMA, and it shows him boxing and all the stuff he's done. And he's like, "I closed it out with, you could put me in Yankee Stadium and I'll still be the realest guy in the room." And he convinces Joe to show this video to Triple H. Triple H's like, "Okay, this kid's got some charisma. Let's put him in the fucking ring and see what he can do." They give him a tryout. Now, the way Enzo tells the story now is that Triple H found the video online. Because that makes it sound Dusty Rhodes.
Right.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. And once again, it's like he claims to have done MMA. He can't put a hold on to save his life. He claims to have boxed. He throws punches like an epileptic. Like it's that sort of thing where he makes all these claims, but he can't back any of them up. He claims to be a rapper, but he's one of those guys who has to write everything out. He'll brag about, "Oh, I've got 50 notebooks full of promos," and my reaction is, you have to write down promos. You can't just talk. Like you're talking about how you're the realest guy in the room. It's like, I never got to use this line, but I always had one about how you talk about being the realest guy in the room. You got fake gold, fake Jordans, fake leopard print, fake hair with a fake accent. You pretend to be an Italian when you're actually German. It's like, I guess you are the realest guy in the room because the only thing real about you is being a guy. It's insane, but I had one. This one got me because I got nervous about it before it happened, and I just had a feeling it was going to happen, and it did. He tells before a show, it was a Tampa show once again. we're gonna do the cutoff. It's me and English against him and Cass, where it was just gonna be like whatever. I clothesline him, or I was just gonna clothesline him. I was like, hey, can you take the inside out bump? He goes, oh yeah, bro, I can. I can take the inside out bump. Didn't sound very confident. Okay, so a little while goes by. I'm like, are you sure you can take the inside out bump? Because I mean, we can just do a normal bump if you want. No, bro, I can take the inside out bump. It's okay, I can take it. Okay. Later, I'm like, maybe we should just cut it. Let's just fuck it. I'll just fucking glom you from behind. Fuck it. You know, there's no need to. It's last show of the year. Fuck it. We don't need to do this. No, bro, I can take the bump. It's cool. I can take it. Okay. He turns around. I go to clothesline him. He headbutts me in my chest. Turns around and DDTs himself.
Should have showed him some pet Tanaka bumps.
Give him the deal in the business. I've hung out with Travis Tyler too many times. So that happens, and then when we get to the back, once again, Terry tells, you didn't take care of him out there. Of course, at no point in Terry ripping me an asshole about this does Enzo ever mention he didn't know how to take an inside-out bump, which I get told after the fact he was asking people how to take the bump before the match. He had no idea how to do it. He'd never done it before. And rather than just being an adult and saying, I've never done that before, or I don't think I can do that, he lied, injures himself, and then I get shit on for it, which would actually wind up becoming a theme in my career with him.
Well, I was going to ask you, for the pay-per-view, your debut at Payback, you guys faced them, and that was the match that was stopped because you got the legit concussion. Did you get a lot of heat for that?
Never directly. I don't know. I don't know if there ever was any. I think most people knew that Enzo was kind of a clod in the ring. If you see famously the Claudio match he had recently, where he tried to go out of the ring. My favorite part was I found out he thought there was nothing wrong with it. He was, it was fine. He was trying to skin the cat too.
Yeah. Which
I guarantee you, same thing. He said, can you skin the cat? Oh yeah, bro, I can skin the cat, no problem. And sure enough, he can't. But
a lot of people have been calling him out as of late too.
Yeah.
So
and it wasn't even the first time. It's actually the first time I think most people saw it was the Payback match. Because a few months later, when he wrestled AJ, he tried to do the dive and he caught his feet on the ropes and almost died. It was that. I think there's even one where he did I think it was a hardcore match with like Sheamus and Cesaro where he winced on a kendo stick shot and caught it in the eye. But so the spot, it's actually Enzo's spot. He's done this a million times. This one legitimately he's done before. I've seen it. Where you go to slide him out of the ring, like he's on a baseball slide, but what he does is he hooks his arm over the rope so it looks like he hits his head, basically doing a dab on the rope. Relatively minor bump, but it looks nasty. It's a very Norman Smiley thing. Norman was very big on spots like that, like something that looks nasty but isn't really that bad. So, boom, come in, grab him, go to throw him. I give him 3/4 of the ring. I'm basically standing in center. I swing him around, so he's almost touching the ropes, about a quarter of the way off, because obviously I don't want to get too close so Cass could tag him. I start running with him. I'm ghosting him the whole way. My hands are here, just holding him. Running. He starts to slide. Boom, hits. I do the big follow through. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah. I go out of the ring. I look at him. I'm like, man, he's selling the shit out of this. Cool. I go to grab him. I'm a light touch with grabbing. I'm very, because I know how much that sucks when someone grabs you and just fucking. So literally fingers on temples, side of the head. Comes with me. I'm like, okay, he's good. Rudy Charles, referee, we're in replays. So I let go of him. Turn around, start jaw-jacking with the crowd. I turn back around, I see this. I see the X, and I go, oh, fuck. He's out. So, watching it back, near as I can tell, one of two things happened. Or rather, two things happened sort of congruently. Number one, Enzo starts sliding real late. Near as I can figure, he either thought I was just going to stand there and do this, and he thought because I was still next to him he shouldn't start sliding yet, or he just slid late because he was running too fast. He was definitely running too fast either way. If you watch his entrance on that show, he actually drops his microphone because he's so amped up. He was way too spun. And contrary to what Steve Austin said, I was not. I actually was about as melancholy about that match as I could be. I've wrestled Enzo and Cass plenty of times, and I wasn't exactly excited to do it. It was always an acceptable match, but it was never a favorite. If you put me out there with Jordan and Gable, we'd lose track of time because we just liked wrestling each other. It was fun. Enzo and Cass was more of a utilitarian match where it was like, okay, we've got to go to A, B, and C. We've got to get these things in. We've got to do this. We've got to, we'll do the spot with Enzo. It'll usually work like this. Like almost every match we had with him was English will go in there, run a spot with Enzo. He'll tag to me. I'll come in. Enzo will do something, get out. He'll bring in Cass. We'll do a spot with me and Cass. Enzo comes back in. We cut him off. and then that leads to the big Cass comeback later. So it wasn't an exciting match for me. I wasn't particularly happy to be in it. It was very much like, okay, we'll go out there, we'll have this match, we'll move on. We got New Day after this. We knew we were going over already, which was another one of the big misconceptions about the match, that they had to change the finish because of what happened, and they didn't. The plan was always, it was going to be Enzo and Cass were going to feud with the Dudley Boys, and then we were going to feud with New Day. So the whole thing happens. Of course, the internet explodes with people wanting to, or calling for my head. One of the stranger parts of that is no one seemed to actually notice what happened. The Irish Whip is a fucking work. If I threw him as hard as I wanted to, or if I threw him as hard as I could, rather, he would have wanted to. He would have either eaten shit sort of just in the ropes, or he would have not been able to slide at all. Like, he would have just kind of run into the ropes at most.
Right.
The fact that he got his feet out from under himself means he was under his own power. I ran this by a physicist, like a friend of mine is a physics teacher. So I guess physicist is probably a little bit of a grandiose way to say it, but he was a physics teacher. And I was like, and technically speaking, as far as momentum works, if he's able to get his feet away from me like that, he would have had to be under his own power. Because if I'm pushing him harder than he can push himself, his feet should be dragging.
Yeah.
So there was that. People were like, oh, you knew he was out and you dropped him when he was on the outside. It's like, well, I didn't know he was out. I thought he was coming with me. I touched him pretty light and he came, so I figured, oh, he's fine. Then, of course, Steve Austin chimes in on it, and he's buddies with Enzo, so without knowing what happened, he just spews his version. Everyone else seems to know what goes on in the company. Everyone knows. I mean, I get told outright, don't put anything on social media about this. And my thought is, that's a good plan. We'll get heat. Going back to my thought on how the heat thing's really nonsensical. Like, well, they wanted us to be heels. They felt like we weren't getting enough heat. We're going to get fucking heat for this. And the immediate thing we do is the next night we job out the cast on Raw. Yeah. I think we did like 3 times in a row, too. Like, we did like Raw, main event, and SmackDown. I might be mistaken, but I think we did like 3 times within a couple weeks. To where it becomes a thing of like, we got heat. We got your heat. We're heels now. They fucking hate us. So you have us lose. It's the Vader and Shawn thing. You know? Shawn beats Vader every week on TV on every house show. What the fuck do you think is going to happen at the pay-per-view?
Yep.
Like, it doesn't really build anything.
Did you guys ever have any conversations afterwards? You and Enzo? No.
No.
Okay.
I sent him a text message to see how he was doing. He did not respond to it. So
even at TV, just
it was just standard stuff. And the brand split came relatively quick after that. We were never friends in the first place, so It wasn't like a. Which actually, I'll be honest, that was the thing I was most worried about, because it was never secretive that I wasn't a fan of Enzo. So I was like, of course, the motherfucker found a way to make it look like I tried to kill him. That's how it was. It was very Gone Girl. It was very like he inadvertently framed me for his murder, and I was like, fuck, man.